one's coming to save you. So what are you gonna do about it? Raw Minds on men's mental health. Hosted by Eric. For the ones we never meet.
Welcome back, everybody. So I just want to start off by saying, what happens when a man becomes strong enough to survive almost anything, but it still has a battle inside that nobody can see? Today's guest knows exactly what that feels like. Jay grew up in northern Quebec. His parents separated. He dealt with bullying, and at the age of 17 old, he joined the Canadian Armed Forces. He spent more than a decade in the uniform, but that wasn't the only beginning. JD went to become a firefighter, studied engineering, worked in natural health and human performance, and eventually pushed his body further than most people would ever consider possible. In 2022, he completed an Epic Deca, 10 full Ironman-distance triathlons, I can't even say it probably, in 10 straight days across 6 Hawaiian islands. Only 3 people finished, and JD was one of them. But the part of his story that interests me the most is nothing to do with the medals. JD has spoken openly about depression, survival mode, identity, pornographic addiction, financial struggles, and what happens when you become incredibly good at looking strong while something inside you is falling apart. He sold his home while chasing one of the biggest goals in his life. He completed something most human beings would never even attempt. Then he came home and faced a battle that, by his own account, could be harder than the race itself. And he took those lessons and put them into his book, Hunger for More in a Life, Conquered Mental Struggles, and discovered purpose through epic achievements. The book isn't simply about pushing your body harder. It's about what drives us, why we keep chasing more, and what happens when achievement isn't enough, and how you rebuild purpose when you're trying to be running towards doesn't fix what happens inside you. Today, JD is the director of high performance, a mental resilience advocacy at Hunger Warrior Academy, where he works with men on discipline, health, recovery, faith, mental strength, and purpose. And before we begin, JD, I want to tell you quickly about something I've been working on that I'm very passionate about and is very personal to me. And that's Parent Path, and it's coming soon. Family court has become overwhelming fast when you're a parent trying to navigate without a lawyer. Documents, evidence, timelines, courts, steps, deadlines, and sometimes you don't even know what to do or how to start. Parent Path is being built to help self-represent parents organizing their case, understanding the purpose, keep important information together, and walk into the system better prepared. It doesn't replace a lawyer, and it doesn't give legal advice. It's about giving parents tools when they feel completely lost. You're going to hear more about it in the upcoming episodes very soon. And if Raw Minds means something to you, follow the show, share this conversation with somebody who needs to hear it, and tell us in the comments what part hit you the hardest. Because sometimes these conversations reach somebody at the exact moment that it needs to. That being all said, I want to introduce our guest, JD. Thank you for coming on to Raw Minds. And I don't know where the hell I went on my screen. There we go. We're back. Thank you, man. I like to start off first with my guest. If you could tell people where they can reach out to you and your academy.
For sure. They can reach out to us at Hungry Warrior Academy.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
For sure. It's an academy that was built out of a book that became a bestseller after the Epic Deca. And we have online courses, we have online classes, workshops, and we also have retreats for men that are struggling and looking for clarity and discipline in their life.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I want to get more into that later down in the show here. But before we start, to give a little background of everybody of you, JD, before the military, before the Ironmans, and before anybody knew your name, who was the kid growing up in northern Quebec?
Yeah, I was bullied as a child. Parents got divorced when I was 14 years old. So that's the age where you're about to choose which college you're picking. And instead, my path took a whole different direction. I would say I was not envisioning myself going into the military at all. I made that choice by myself. Again, I don't regret it, but I thought that I would learn discipline in the military And what I learned is that it's the byproduct of using a system and structure and having standards for yourself, understanding your values. That's how you get the discipline. So I was definitely a scared child. I was living in fear constantly. I ended up learning that I have to learn to live in faith rather than in fear. That's what I learned.
That's awesome. And you know, like big thing too, I knew I was never in the army or anything, but like I've watched videos of like generals and stuff like that. They come and speak at like graduations, right? And some of these speeches are phenomenal, man. You know, and sometimes I listen to them, you know, to give me a bit of a boost, right? And this one, he was I forget, and I don't want to blotch it or botch it or whatever, but he talked about making your bed and how important that is, you know, and him going in the army, and it was like, you, what the hell, right? But it's like making your bed, and you start your day off by winning that goal. You know what I mean? As soon as you get out of bed, you make your bed, and that's a goal that you've already set your day with, you know? So now your day is already succeeding, you know? And it's the army does that too, right? Make your bed, get up. Everything's got to be pristine, everything like that. So it helps you, I guess, get your life a little bit in order. I'm saying, is that true? Did it help you a bit there, and kind of like the discipline in that sense?
Yeah, they give you the standard, not necessarily the discipline. The discipline
Yeah.
is the byproduct
Yeah.
of following that structure.
Yeah.
Because the military, there are a lot of undisciplined military member, and there
yeah.
are some that are disciplined. But it's the aspect of having standards for yourself and understanding that there is a purpose for that standard. So that's the goal.
And then how did that change your life? And then like you becoming a firefighter, like how did that, because you said you're going in there scared. Were you scared the whole time, or like how did you like, yeah, like what was going through your head that whole time? Did it help you become more of the man, so you were now you like built all this, you know, it was like your pillar, I guess, to set you forward?
Yeah, what made a huge impact in my life was the question on my prelim for search and rescue technician. And it was one of the chief. He said, "You understand the difference between cockiness and confidence?" And I did not really have an answer at that moment, but he said, "I'll let you ponder on it." And he just let me go just like that. I was in front of all of the other instructors that were looking at me. And I got an answer now to this chief who really made a mark in my life just by asking me a simple question. So I was, in essence, trying to compensate for the lack of confidence that I had of my skills. I was just overcompensating. And so building these skills and building these standards for myself, not necessarily relying on the military. And I learned these skills after I left. So after the military, what happened is that it's debilitating, because in the military, you're taught when to eat, how to breathe, how to walk, what to wear. You don't have to question what to wear. There's your uniform. Here's how to wear it. And if you wore it for X amount of years, you know exactly how the drill is going to unfold. So it's really that now I had no structure, no standard. And after the military, that's when it was really unsettling. But understanding that now I have to set all of these standards, create this structure for my life, understanding what direction I wanted to go in, and use these skills that I learned by being disciplined, and understand that it doesn't come that easily. And you can't just dress for the job and get the job. You actually have to do the work to finally have the outcome that you're seeking.
Well, I mean, like you did that 10 races in 10 days. You know what I mean? There's no way in hell I'm going to do that. Especially like maybe in my younger years, I could maybe do a couple of them, and then that's you know what I mean? But I probably couldn't even finish one today. You know what I mean? Because I'm, you know, it's not, I'm 42 now. I'm not hitting the gym. You know, I got other priorities for me, right? For that stuff. I do other healthy stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, like that just alone, the discipline that it takes to be able to train, to the mindset too, you know, and to keep you on track, you know, is just like, and that's why I bring it up, is because like, it's it takes a lot of discipline is what I'm saying to be able to do those things. Am I not right?
Yeah, definitely. That's why really having the right mindset about what is discipline is one key factor that we approach at the Hungry Warrior Academy. And so a lot of people think that discipline is about waking up at 4 a.m. or doing your bed or for me, see that that is not a motivation for me to make your bed because I optimize that even in the military. I would make my bed exactly the way they wanted, and then I would have a sleeping bag. I would I would sleep in the sleeping bag on top of my perfectly made bed.
So you
And
never
then
had to do
I
it. Oh my
so
god.
somewhat cheated the system in essence.
Work
I
smart,
found
not
a
hard,
way.
right?
Well, exactly. We're smart enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really about understanding what discipline is so that you can shift your mindset even towards that word. For example, what is your non negotiable? And so understanding what is your non negotiable gets you to do something that is fun and changes the perspective of the word discipline because words carry a certain weight.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the idea that of the word discipline and it becomes a trigger to some, then you're not willing to do the task that you really want to do. So really understanding that pattern is key. So once you can do that non-negotiable, and the non-negotiable is different for everybody. Because for me, it's fitness. Right? I wouldn't even
Yeah.
have you know that within a 24-hour period, I will do something that is about fitness.
Yeah.
But for anybody else, it might be something else. So once you know that you are discipline in that aspect of your life and you're able to love the even talking about discipline because you will enjoy it. Everybody 100% of people on earth are disciplined. 100%. It's unequivocal. It's 100%. It's just that
In
they
different
are
ways.
disciplined in one
Mm-hmm.
area of their life and they're completely undisciplined in other areas of
Mm-hmm.
their life, and then they're focused on the undisciplined portion of their life, and but they are disciplined in one area. And for smokers, yeah, you're disciplined, you're
Mm-hmm.
always on time and you're always at the smoking area, you're always having your cigarette,
Mm-hmm.
so you are disciplined even in smoking. It might be a behavior that
Mm-hmm.
is negative to your health. I'll agree, but it's still a certain discipline. So everybody is disciplined. It's just that you have to understand what are healthy habits and then how do you develop it according to your non-negotiable so that now it can trickle to other parts of your life.
I never like you just kind of opened up my mind with that, man. Like, like I never would have like put that into like that way of perspective, of like everybody's discipline, but it's so true. I'm just even thinking in my head, and I'm gonna say this just because people are like, oh, well, what about like drug addicts and stuff? But I mean, like you're disciplined, you have a habit, you got to keep your habit. You know what I mean? It may be addiction, but it's also you're disciplined by getting and doing that, right? So it works both ways, like you said, and that kind of like you blew my mind, man. So thank you for that, actually. Thank you. So how did the book come into play? Like how did that, like, if you can talk about that, because then that's how then the academy also, right? That's where it followed after. Am I right? Or is it backwards?
Yeah, I wanted to prove the systems that I was creating that were functioning. So I completed the Epic Deca, the 10 Ironman in 10 days on 6 different Hawaiian islands. And then some people were reaching out to me saying, how did you accomplish this? And I had no real structure or basis or foundation to provide them with tools. It was about really empowering them and showing that they can too. There's nothing special about JD. It's more so I followed a certain system, but I just
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what I had just accomplished. For me, it seemed natural to me, but I had certain abilities, certain skills. I developed them over the years, and then I ended up doing that race. So I wrote the book, and the it was after I released. First, it was a Spanish version. I wrote it in English, but we flew to Mexico and we released it in Spanish, and it became a bestseller in Spanish. And then we flew to Texas, and then it became a bestseller in English. And then we went to Quebec also, and then we did a book tour, and then it became a bestseller in French. So I was excited that in 3 different languages it became a bestseller, and so we were definitely onto something. So we created the Hungry Warrior Academy to help those skills really solidify for people that are willing to invest in their future, and not just theirs, but the ones of their family and their community to really stand strong. So that's why we created the Hungry Warrior Academy after the book.
That's awesome. And tell me about the Hungry Warrior Academy more, like more in depth if you can, and like kind of like maybe a process of like, say, like a new person coming.
Yeah, for sure. We have hungrywarrioracademy.com. We have our pillars, which is the Epic pillars. And then we also have our Deca system. So the Epic Foundation is Eternal Restoration. So it's an acronym. P is physical temple. I is identity. And then C is community. And so those are the pillars that we abide by, and that we evaluate a person based on those pillars to see how or what is the necessary tool that they're in need. There's an epidemic of loneliness. And so really the community can play a huge factor, but then there are others that thrive even more in loneliness, such as me. Like I'm much better when there are not many people around me. So I prefer that. That's why I excel very well into the ultra world. So to me, it might not be one of my personal pillar, but again, it's understanding where's your identity, how are you taking care of your physical temple, and then really your eternal restoration. So we're a Christian nonprofit organization. So definitely we will look into do you have a relationship with God? And if so, what does that look like? It's not just about going to church. It's also about understanding what is that pillar in your life.
Well, speaking of that, the Hungry Warrior Academy puts faith at the center of what you guys teach. At what point did faith stop being something you understood intellectually and become something you actually needed?
Well, it was a different phase of my life. I grew up in a Christian home. As a kid, I was more forced into this form of relationship with God. I did not really understand why on Sunday morning I would go to church, but it was mandatory, and I had to, even though I did not understand the values. For me, it was just about going to play with other children. That's pretty much what it was. In the military, I was wearing on my dog tags Christian, so that if ever I would die, then a Christian person or aumônier or a person that would officiate the ceremony would be a Christian. But again, I was not necessarily the most practicing Christian and not taking things extremely seriously. It was more of I'm wearing it here's my cross, and that's about it. So different stages. And then it's only until when I left the military, where the military was a huge part of my life, because I was 17 when I joined. So before I was even able to...
How old were you when you're officially out of it, when you left it?
17, I was, I stayed in for 11, so 28.
Yeah,
28
okay, so
something.
yeah. So you're in there, you're in there for what, over a decade then, right? Because a decade's 10 years. Yeah.
My whole teenage years, like you're 17 years old, you join the military before you're even able to buy a beer legally or smoke a cigarette. And I wanted to, but I cannot even buy a pack of cigarette, but
you can go to
pull a
war.
rifle.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I remember
man,
going to I remember going to the bank, and the guy gave me a credit card, and I said, well, on the application, I'm about to sign for it. That's back when you had to sign for an application. That was a little bit how old I am. So I'm about to sign on the application, and I read that you need to be 18 to sign on. And he says, it's okay. You're in the military. Like it's fine. You can have a credit card. And okay, well,
Hell yeah.
well, thank you for your service. There you go. There's a credit card. Go. So I remember having a credit card when I was 17 years old.
Crazy. Were you smart with it? Were you smart with it or?
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
I
don't,
wish I would. Yeah.
buddy.
I wish
I
would.
have the most craziest story about like. So I inherited about 100 and something, let's just say, when my grandma passed away, and like my whole family passed away in our house because my mom was a nurse. They didn't want to pass away in the hospital, so I watched every single one take their last breath. And my grandma said to me, I remember this, and she says, "When I die, you're gonna get some money, and I want you to do whatever you want from it. Don't listen to anybody and just have fun. Do whatever you
Mhm.
want." So I inherited a lot of money. Mind you, I just hit 18, so I was allowed to have this money. My mom had no say over it, okay? Let's just say that. I blew it in 4 months.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah. I had
it's
the
good you
best
stretch it out.
yeah. I had the best 4 months of my life, though. I'll tell you this. I spent 50 grand just over the phone on car parts. I had a Nissan 240. I bought it like I had it before. I converted the whole thing into an S15, like the front end, which is a Japanese style 240. They weren't allowed in Canada, but I did the whole front end conversion. Changed this thing. My whole interior was white and blue Italian leather. I had 7 TVs in it: Xbox, GameCube, Nintendo. I had a satellite TV. I was on the page of Northwest Nissan. I was in car shows. It was some of the best times though of my life, man. Do I wish I put that money away? Yes. My buddy made a post before Bitcoin came out, and he's like, "Everybody that I know, I promise you, buy this. It's going to change your life." And I should have did it. I never did. He bought so many. Good for him. I had that money. I should have just dumped some in there, but nope. I was living it. But you know what, man? I had a good time. I made memories. I had memories and I enjoyed it, and there's nothing you can't pay for that shit back. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take that away. I met I met some great people. I got to go do some cool things because I had the money. I was able to do these things, and being able to like put my car on a magazine and all this, because I came from a broken home, right? No one knew my grandma had all this money. It was a big like a shock, right? It was pretty, so I know about spending money, man. And
Yeah.
stupidly, I get it, right? And the same age,
Yeah.
man. So
Exactly. It just goes
yeah.
to show that we're always brought back to the highest level of training that we have and to the lowest value that we attribute to ourselves. So people that inherit money, if they believe that this money doesn't mean anything, they've never had money is not part of their value, then there's a high likelihood that you will not you will just blow it just like you
Mhm.
did. And it works the same in other areas of our lives sometimes when we're not valuing certain relationships. Certain marriages break apart because one person overvalues one individual, and it's not a fair exchange between the two parties. And I don't
Like,
mean it in the terms of even just buying something. If I gave you a car and it was an expensive car and you only paid $5, you would ask me way more question than if I gave you a fair price to this
mhm.
expensive car,
Yeah. Yeah, like, why
because
is
you
this so cheap?
understand there's a value behind it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's wrong with it? Like, what is it going to do? Is it going to blow up, or, you know what I mean? It could be, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's what also, like, when it comes into relationships too, is like, that's when people also start putting other people on pedestals, and that's also for the person putting another person on a pedestal. That's also some definitely issues inside, right? So it kind of goes in all aspects, I guess you could say there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which is
tell
all
me,
based on value.
yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit more. Like, so the academy, is it in person or is it like an online thing? Like, tell me more about this. So just so
For
people
sure.
can understand.
Yeah, we have courses, we have online classes that people can attend, people that are willing to invest less money than there are courses online. We also have workshops. So we have one of our coaches, a former Navy SEAL. So definitely there's no way that you're going to rattle this guy or show him that you've seen something that he hasn't. In some case, and I haven't seen him, and since the time I know him, I haven't seen him really shaken by anything. So it's definitely a great guy to have around. And all of these sessions are online where the guys are able to share in a group settings or sometime a one-on-one, depending on what are their needs based on the pillars and based on the method that we have, which is the Deca method.
And
And
is that a
then
program? Is that like a program that you guys offer, or
correct. Yeah, we
yeah?
do offer programs. So 3 months programs where the guys are able to share every week their development, where no one is going to be talking about feelings. We don't care about your feelings. I don't want to hear about your feelings. We're going to be talking about, yes, we are going to be talking about emotion. And that's because emotion is different than feelings. Feelings is an experience of life. We want to hear about your experience, not necessarily the feelings. We want to hear about the emotions, which is how you regulate your body. So what is our DECA system, which is discipline. How are you disciplined in your life? What is your non-negotiable? We'll develop all of your values. We'll break down all of these limitations that you've had in the past. We're talking about energy regulation. So we have our brain system also, which is blood chemistry, recovery, attention,
Brain
inflammation,
system?
and yeah, which is another acronym.
Okay.
And it's called so the acronym is BRAIN, which is blood chemistry, recovery, attention, inflammation, and nervous system. So
Crazy. Okay.
if you look at all these 5 systems into greater details based on your specific situation, then you're able to make changes on how you will react. So very often there are guys, when you look at it from a scientific point of view, instead of looking at it from a feelings point of view, because you have a car crash and then you look at it, you're a firefighter, you're showing up on the scene, and many people will just say, well, look at your feelings, see how you feel about. No, there are car crash. I showed up and I know I'm laughing, but I had to hide the smile that I had on my face because I understood that it was not appropriate to have that. So it was not about looking at the feelings. I was excited to be there. There are others where it was a bit more difficult, but at the same time, it's not about the feelings. It's about the emotional reaction. So emotional reaction can be quantified. So if I'm surprised, you can quantify the pupils being dilated. You can quantify the pulse becoming much faster or much stronger. Those are data points that we can analyze based on science, based on machines that we have. We have EEGs and machines that where you can calculate the brain waves and how the person reacts and to give tips to the person on how to react to a situation. So the same firefighter that now shows up on the scene is now able to look at the symptoms of it, not necessarily at the feelings behind it. And I'm just taking one scenario or an example that shouldn't trigger anyone, but you can extrapolate a lot out of it because there's a lot of people, when you're looking at the brain acronym, that are not regulating certain system out of their body. When you're looking at the blood chemistry, someone wakes up in the morning, has high cortisol level. That's for everybody. If you're fit, cortisol level will go lower much faster, but that's just your stress hormone. And then all of a sudden they drink a shake in the morning, which is not bad in of itself. They just want to eat healthy. And then they put some fruits in there, or maybe something sugary.
Like a protein
And then
shake?
they get stuck in traffic. They
Oh
get
yeah.
stuck in traffic. So now insulin level is high, cortisol level is high. How do you think you will react if you just have one person honk at you or do something? You're already in a heightened state. So your physiology is as important, if not more, than all the other component that we have to look at. So that's why, again, I talked about blood chemistry. Well, you're looking at glucose swings. You're looking at hydration, electrolytes. You can look at other factors, and that's just the blood chemistry. So you can look at all the other parts, and then the person might be simply missing other components, such as, now we're not talking about somebody, and we're not dealing with objective diagnosis, and we're not here to diagnose anyone either. If someone has schizophrenia or someone has epilepsy. We're not here to cure anybody
Yeah.
at the center, but we're here to provide tools so that you
Yeah.
can address certain stressful situation, because being a man is being a leader. If there is one definition of what, and you look throughout all of history, the characteristic that you would provide the word man is courage. So you need courage to be a man. And what is courage? Well, courage is facing something that is, or a situation that you have fear, but in spite of fear, you're still facing the difficulties. It's just that now the landscape changed, but the tools never changed. Somewhat like the military never changed. You look at the drill sergeant who's saying, dig in your heel, dig in your heel. What? So I can make the most amount of noise? You know how barbaric and how archaic this system is with the military. First, digging in your heel, putting and some pounding. I don't even have to be a medical doctor to tell you that you will ensue some medical problems because you are doing this form of marching, making a lot of noise. I don't see much warfare at the moment that
Like
that
like right?
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
No, you're seeing, even for the guys that don't know about warfare, look at Modern Warfare or look at Black Ops, right? Those are video games, but those illustrate the now landscape of modern warfare, so to speak. And so it's the mindset that it's the tools that we're still using that are completely archaic and sometimes erroneous, when we have to look at the physiology of it and we have to understand what is necessary for your specific situation. There's nobody is going to get yelled at in those camps. Nobody is going to get, profanity is not going to be used. We're using facts, logic, and science to provide men with tools on how to address certain difficult situations in their lives. That's what we're doing.
and you guys are using actual real data. Like you know what I mean? You're extracting real data from the person, you know, whoever's taking the course, to be able to, like science, like you said, you know what I mean? And bypassing that feeling, the feeling blanket, I guess you could say, right? And you bypass that right to like the heart of it, where what is actually causing this issue or whatever it is. Am I right? Is that kind of what
Yeah,
you guys?
exactly.
Yeah.
Because the experience, very often what happened to a lot of men right now is that they live a certain type of situation. They see that a lot of men have lived certain situation. You're looking at the divorce rate increasing, not being
Crazy.
able to see your kid. Well, what happened to your system? You become that's the very first stage of a divorce, by the way, is that the man becomes, so there is no more feelings at all. But then when you go to therapy, very often they say, well, how about tell me about your feelings? I don't have any. And then you can't explain why. Well, how about we look at neuroscience as to why you had that nervous shock and how to recalibrate yourself based on science. Let's use neuroscience and then let's recalibrate you to understanding. And so now you're not talking about an experience of life. You're not talking about a feelings. You're talking which or lack thereof.
Yeah.
You're talking about an action plan to be able to regulate your system and be ready for the next battle. Because if you think that your battle is going to stop as soon as the divorce comes, and you're in for a world of hurt, my friend. You're looking at years of court battle and people hating you. And that's just one example. So imagine the guy that comes back from firefighting or a war, or a police officer that comes back from PTSD, wakes up at night sweat, drenched, you're complete. And then you have someone complaining, not really understanding the physiology of it or the neuroscience, and not being able to explain to his wife that she did not sign up to swim in a pool of sweat
Sweat.
in the middle
Yeah.
of the night while having some crazy guy beside her yelling because he's seeing all of these sometimes dead people, sometimes picking up body parts, and I don't want to trigger people. So there are other things that are way more triggering. So now understanding the physiology behind it, now you're able to, again, we have another acronym, which is called RISE, which is, we use it also for addictions, and we use it for other aspect of life, like to change a pattern. So the RISE acronym is recognizing pattern. So many people will tell you, well, it's about knowing that you have a problem. That's the first step of
Everything.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's just wrong. If you recognize a pattern and you don't even know you have a problem, you'll be changing it because you'll understand the pattern. Similar to a guy who is doing drugs. If he recognizes the patterns, he's able to change the source of it because he understands the whole system, the whole
Yeah, he
pattern
sees it.
as
Yeah,
to
exactly.
why he's doing it. But if he just says, I have a problem, then there's very often what is happening is that he creates a form of identity on it and he just says, oh, I'm an addict, so it's okay. Now he's justifying it. So now this victimhood becomes a blanket of comfort for him. Whereas if you're looking at the patterns, so you're recognizing the pattern, you don't even have to know that you have a problem. Your system will know that you have a problem because it's not as efficient, because the body is designed for survival, not success. And so if it's designed for survival, which it is, then it's geared towards saving you from a negative outcome. And so therefore, recognizing the pattern is the key for the first one. The second one is I, which is the identity. The second one is creating that structure around it. And then E is engage in healthy challenges. What are healthy challenges? And so we really break it down into more steps, but for people that want it, again, for free, well, here it is. There you go. Those are the acronyms, and you can apply them to your life. You can rewatch the podcast. You can rewind it.
Or
you can
sign
look
up,
at
man.
it.
Or they can
For
sign
sure.
up, right?
To me, it's about, there wouldn't be, I want the people that are looking for results.
Yes.
We're able to provide the results.
Yeah.
But I don't want 1 million people that sign up for something that they're not going to do. This is not Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness model is designed for people that will sign up for $10. You'll have a tremendous amount of people that sign up and will not go to the gym. They even have a pizza place to reward you for going on the treadmill for 5 minutes. Congratulations. Yeah, they have pizza places inside of there, which if you look at it,
I'm sorry, man. That's crazy.
you're eating more
Yeah.
than you're spending. So it's an intake, outtake. But we don't have that model. I would rather want to have one good client where we can provide tremendous amount of results than to have someone that doesn't have the heart for it and is going to waste my time and my money. I've studied years, not just in my personal life in the military, but also professionally as an integrated engineer with a specialization in biomedical, and also at an institute to become a naturopath, to eventually just go and sell you a $9 membership that you're not going to use.
Yeah.
I want results for people. So to me, I understand that you need some form of accountability. And so at some point, they'll have to look for it. And at the moment, there is no other academy. There's no other. I remember leaving the military and not knowing where to turn. The guys that are still in the military, they're still having their own battles. And the guys that are outside of the military are all scattered all over the place. And so you end up with no one to help you. And so when you're in trouble, who are you going to call when you really need help? And so that's where we can come in. We can help make that change for those people that do have the heart for it, because I don't want the fittest people or the people that are with the most amount of money and the most intellectual, because all of these spheres of life can be taught. I want the people that have the heart for the result. Once you
Quality
have
over
the heart for the
quantity.
result, yeah, I want a hungry warrior. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Quality over quantity, definitely. You know, like,
definitely.
and I do some coaching, man, and that's what it's about, really. Is like, you know, when that, like, when I'm doing that, it's like I'm interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing me. You know what I mean? Because exactly, you don't want to be wasting your time. You know, you put hard effort into, you know, your programs or or whatever background that you did. Exactly, man. You know, and then you want someone that actually wants it. You know, and you want someone that has the heart, because if that person doesn't want it, they're taking up space for someone that actually does want that, you know. So it's true, man. And it's very, it's true that what you guys are doing there. I think it's amazing, actually, what you guys are doing. I think it's like, I've never heard of anything like this before, of like attacking, you know, like the real data, the real science behind what you guys are doing, you know. So I commend you and your whole team there, man, and what you guys are doing for the community. I also want to say is, like, you know, a lot of people, like you said, like, people come out of the military, you know, they've been in there for years, decades, like yourself, and they come back into society and they don't know how to, you know, imagine if they were doing on tour, you know what I mean, and coming back and seeing all that, and then coming back to society and then dealing with, like you said, you know, before, you have to eat at a time, you're told to eat, to bed, everything like that. Now coming back, you have freedom, you're lost. You probably, some of your friends that you had are maybe even not around anymore. You know what I mean? It's hard, you know. So something like that to give back to the community, to help these people and help guide them, you know, through the torns and the horrific trauma, man. Let's get it. It is some of the stuff. I mean, you as a first responder, you know, there's some bad stuff out there, man, that happens, you know, and it will mess people up, and it really will. So I commend you, man, for what you're doing here and helping your community. It's really great, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're saying about even losing guys. You alluded to it earlier, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's there. There is an epidemic right now where guys are leaving at an astonishing rate in my region. Even as fire, and that's just firefighters.
Hmm.
We have 10% that left since the big tragedy that happened in our town, and
Hmm.
so guys are leaving very rapidly. They're placing some actions where they have to understand that God did not make a mistake by creating them. They might
Hmm.
have made a mistake or two or three, but if the proper actions are posed and understood, then you can change pretty much anything out of your body, even in today's
100%.
society. Because even if we look at someone who's completely burned, well, you can put fake skin back on your skin. So even at a physiological level, you can change. Your mind can be changed. That's called, so you have neuroplasticity with your
Hmm.
brain. So your brain can change. It can adapt to a situation. Your whole body can adapt to a situation. So there is definitely the help. I understand we're not for everybody. And that's why we partner with other healthcare providers and other people that are in even similar. We have another. We have another group where I turned down their offer because they said we have a camp and we have lots of people that show up, but you understand that by partnering with us and coming to our workshop, you understand you will have to yell at those guys. And I said, well, that's why
Hmm.
I don't want to.
We're
Well,
here
it's
to
because it's
help
creating it.
them, right? Not,
Yeah, but
yeah,
help
not throw
to
more
them and
trauma
their
on
body.
them, right? You know what I mean? Fuck.
Well, in my meeting with them, I said if I was a bit crude, but I said if they really wanted to if I really wanted change and getting yelled at, then they should get back with their ex-wife. At least they would get sex out of it, not lose money out of it. So I said, no, 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 I'm not. But again, maybe it's fitting certain types of clientele and developing. maybe these men are going to get something out of it. That's up to them to find out. But to us, I understand that we are completely different. That's why we are partnering with other healthcare provider. We refer people out. I prefer to refer people out and give business to other people and give essentially money to other people than waste my time.
Well, yeah, and you're helping the person too. At the same time, you're guiding them into the right path that should maybe help them, because it may not be a good fit for you there. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask, dude, do you guys use any hyperbolic oxygen chambers too? Because I had a guest on that had one, I think, and he said the one that he had, I think, was like $20,000 or $40,000, and it's changed his life, man. It changed his life. Like, it's supposed to be great for you. It almost mimics, I don't know if you know much about it, but yeah, like you probably do, right? So for our guests, like it mimics you like going underwater, and pretty much correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost turns your like blood into gas, I guess, or like you know what I mean, or something. Is that what it kind of, in a sense,
adds pressure, and then you have more oxygen, so that your body
so
is
it flows
essentially under pressure.
Yeah, so because he's saying, like, you know, like if you have like blood clots or something, it can help the flow go or something like that too. I don't know. Just wondering if you guys use something like that as well. I don't know.
We don't at the moment. It's funny that you're saying this, because we looked into it. So we're right now shopping for one and trying to see if we can incorporate it, but we haven't yet. But I understand the physics behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, like he's got one, and he was a Olympic bobsledder, and what I learned from this is crazy. Is they have more head trauma, you know, more like consciousness and stuff, because the bumps they're hitting, their heads banging around, and apparently they hit more G forces on turns than some jet fighter, and like apparently, and he had some pilot come, and like he took the pilot down, and the pilot was like, "Fuck, that was crazy, man." He's like, "That was crazy." But so he built this because he had concussion. He was losing friends too, you know, because of these brain injuries and stuff. So now he's trying to build like a huge one so you can put lots of people in, and he has like a little island thing that he's running, and he flies people in and helps people, and I don't think he even charges that much for it, man. He just wants to give back and help for the people. So yeah, I think it's great, and it's just cool. I just thought it was a cool thing. I never heard of it before, and I was very intrigued. So it's yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the problem with certain of these devices is that there are other scarier illnesses that can develop out of this as well, which people might not know about, such as arterial embolism. So again, using these devices with untrained individuals just because you found it that it was at a cheaper price online and using it in your basement might not be the wisest.
No, he's got all trained for this and stuff like that. Yeah. But you're saying in general, if people,
because those are available now online for many people to use, right? So it can become again a safety concern for certain individual. I know that it's becoming big in the industry of health. What is it called? There's a word for it. Biohacking. Yeah,
biohacking. Yeah.
All of those biohackers that
isn't there like
never studied anything other than a sheet. Or
did you see that? Like they put a thing in, it freezes your head. There's this like a freeze thing now and stuff. I'm looking at this stuff like, what the hell is going on here, man? You know. I don't know. It's just sometimes it's confusing to me, all these crazy things, you know, and the next thing, right? But
yeah, exactly.
But anyways, man, we are getting at the end here. I just want to say, if you can once more tell people where to reach the academy and the website and stuff before we get out of here. Yeah.
For sure. It's hungrywarrioracademy.com.
And I just want to say, man, thank you again for coming on Raw Minds. I've actually learned a lot. You even opened my mind about the discipline thing, or not the discipline, sorry. God, I can't even think.
Yeah, how everybody is disciplined. Yeah.
Discipline, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, man, thank you again. I really appreciate coming on. And if anything else pops up, if you guys got anything else, you're more than welcome. Always reach out and come and explain it all again. So appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, take it easy, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Raw Minds. Men's Mental Health, hosted by Eric. Follow, subscribe, like, share. For the ones we never meet, you're not alone.